And welcome to a live edition of the Cyclone Insider podcast, videocast, YouTube stream, whatever platform we're on now. Coming from just outside Jack Trice Stadium is Travis Hines and Randy Peterson following Iowa State's 2023 spring game that Randy, I don't think offered up as expected a lot, but certainly some interesting nuggets today. Talking to Matt Campbell, certainly they looked at it as a culmination of a 15 practice spring rather than an individual day. What was your headline takeaway from this morning and this afternoon here in Ames?
I focused on the offense. I barely even watched the defense. I barely watched them because we know that's going to be good. John Hickok's always got good players out there, and they play great defense. So I was watching the offense mostly, and the newcomers, obviously. Jaden Higgins, the transfer from Eastern Kentucky, I thought he was pretty good. So, and then we can get into him later if you want to. But I liked him. They're gonna need a deep receiver because Xavier Hutchinson's gone now, and I'm not certain that Higgins just might be that guy. I mean, he looked good today, but I mean, obviously it was 15th of 15 spring practices. But yeah, I would think that he'd go right in there as a starter. That's just my guessing. And I asked Hunter Deckers that afterwards, and he kind of looked at me and smiled, and he said that's not his decision. But yeah, I would kind of think that Jalen Noel, who didn't play, is be a starter, obviously, and Dimitri Stanley, and the next another wide receiver's up for grab. But I would think that Higgins could be that guy.
Yeah, the receiving core was a lot of people we hadn't really seen much of before, with Jalen Noel out with a tight hamstring, Deshaun Hanukkah after, I believe, undergoing offseason surgery. Definitely a group of guys that we have not seen a ton of. Easton Dean had a couple of catches. But yeah, not a lot of returning names on the field today catching passes. To me, the headline, the most interesting thing that I saw all day today was Jyrell Brock's 16-yard touchdown, where he juked two guys out of their cleats, where it felt like, okay, that's the dude who you felt pretty good about if you were an Iowa State fan through the first 4 games of the year, when he averaged, I think, 88 yards a game, 5.5 a carry before hurting himself against Kansas, and then obviously breaking his foot later in the year. But that, like, to me, it was like Jyrell's got his juice back. A long way to go between now and the end of August, but certainly for him to be healthy going into the summer, I think is huge for Iowa State. Disappointed we didn't get to see Cartavius Norton, because he's obviously the guy that, Randy, we talked about it on radio, I think, earlier this week, where it was like, ooh, like if you were going to pick the next great Iowa State back, like he seemed to be the guy with the most upside. Didn't get to see him play because of injury, but I thought Jyrell showed why, like, his floor, if healthy, is a productive Big 12 back. Maybe he's not a superstar. Maybe he's not an NFL draft pick like David Montgomery or Breece Hall. But if he's healthy for 12 games, he's going to put up yardage, and he's going to help Iowa State move the chains.
I agree with you 100% about Jyrell, and he may be the best story going on the team in that respect. I mean, I think we're all pulling for him to stay healthy. For him, for what he did, sticking around the program, playing behind, knowing that he was going to play behind Breece Hall, he stuck around the program anyway. And I did a story about that once, and his mom said that's just the way he was brought up. I think she said the only thing he'd ever given up in life was a clarinet, and she wasn't real happy about that. So he could have gone elsewhere, but no, he stuck it out. So yeah, I'm hoping that he has a very productive and safe summer. And we'll see what it's like, because that certainly was a place that Iowa State needed last year was running backs, because it got to the point where everybody knew that Deckers was going to throw the ball, because they had no running game, they had no offensive line. Speaking of the running game, though, I kind of liked AJ Harris a little bit. What I saw, the Stanford transfer, he was. I like the way he cut. I like the way he put his head down and ran straight. There were a couple of times when I thought that he may have danced a little bit when he got to the ball. But this kid's just a redshirt freshman, and he knows Iowa State's propensity to have injured running backs. And his father played in the NFL, so I kind of like where Iowa State's going there with that running back game. But again, the key is keeping those guys healthy.
Yeah, I thought Eli Sanders had a couple of nice moments too. So certainly looks to be, if healthy, maybe a position of strength for Iowa State in 2023. Randy, I thought the other thing that stood out to me offensively, I don't even think it's probably worth talking about the offensive line right now because they were down a couple of guys with injury, and it didn't feel like there was a lot, like on purpose, there was not a lot of physicality at the point of attack, in a scrimmage like this. So I don't know that we would have gotten, much of an indication either way. But to me, anyone thinking that there was a quarterback competition this spring or maybe going into the fall was probably kidding themselves. I think Hunter Decker's, at least what we saw today, looked head and shoulders ahead of Rocco Becht and J.J. Cole, both of whom had nice moments. But I would be beyond shocked if we hear even anything more than a whisper about a quarterback competition this fall, because I just thought Decker's was much, much better, which should come as no surprise, when the competition is a guy that couldn't get on the field last year when Decker's was among the country's leaders in interceptions, and a guy who Matt Campbell put it afterwards, should be getting ready to go to prom right now and instead is playing spring football.
Yeah, J.J. Cole was – I enjoyed watching J.J. Cole today. He came, like you said, he came in January. So I don't know how much he'll play going forward. Next year, at least, trust me, next year. Rocco Becht showed signs. But like you said, Hunter Deckers was the guy, and he will be the guy in the fall. And I still want to see how he can play. Like I said earlier, how he can play with a decent offensive line.
Or a legitimate running game
in front of him, and a legitimate running game. And let's not forget, I can remember 3 drops last year that would have been touchdowns also.
And probably victories.
Huh?
And that would have probably translated to victories.
Without question. I mean, the Texas one for sure. Yeah. At
Oklahoma
Texas.
State.
Oh, exactly. I mean, or Kansas State, for example. But anyway, and speaking of Kansas State, or speaking of that was Kansas State, but how about speaking of the state of Kansas? There, I'll put it like that.
Take your time.
Let me get myself out of this.
Okay.
Jace Gilbert didn't have a horrible day in the wind. Yeah, we saw him miss one field goal, but he made two. He made two.
Shaky day for the whole operation.
It was a crappy day. What?
Shaky day for the whole kicking operation. We saw PAT get botched because of a bad snap. We saw one snap go high that the kicker saved. So
yeah, we've got a new long snapper too, though.
Yeah, Drake Knobloch. That work to do in the kicking operation.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was nice to see Gilbert make.
Jace Gilbert missed one. The first one. I'm sorry, I had to laugh because it doinked off the crossbar.
Not even the upright, the crossbar.
The crossbar, not even
into the wind. Yes, but still not great.
Yeah, and it was a swirling wind. But I mean, to come back and make 2 more field goals in the mid-30 range, that was pretty good. I mean, this is a kid
better than the alternative for sure.
Yeah, well, exactly. And this is a kid that needs maybe he doesn't need to get his confidence. Maybe he's got confidence that he can make it, but he certainly needs to. I think Iowa State fans need to be confident in him as well. So I guess we'll see going forward. I don't think we saw a punt, did we? No, we didn't see a punt or a kickoff. But so yeah, I think that's pretty much what my thoughts were about this spring game.
Yeah, me too. I think obviously a long way to go from 4-8 to where Iowa State wants to be this fall. I think the thing that we heard Matt Campbell talk about the last couple months is how young this team is, and when you see them out there for the first time and you're checking your roster for numbers to find the names, especially with guys out with injury, you realize that, yeah, this is going to be a young team again. How do they climb out of 4-8 with a young team after losing guys like Xavier Hutchinson, MJ Anderson, Will McDonald? It's going to be a tough task. It started back in January, continued through April here, and it'll be interesting to see how they continue it through the summer and then into fall camp, because obviously a big year ahead for them trying to regain the momentum that they probably sputtered away a little bit last year with 4-8 and with a lot of close losses, and certainly coming off of a disappointing 7-6 season the year before with all that talent. So an important year for Iowa State. I think a year where there are equal parts optimism and pessimism, which usually means we're going to see something interesting once the season comes around later this fall. He's Randy Peterson. I'm Travis Hines. This has been the Cyclone Insider Podcast from the Des Moines Register. Be sure to check out DesMoinesRegister.com for all your spring game coverage and all your off-season Iowa State football coverage that you could ever possibly hope to see. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.